Welcome. Today is, I always pause when I say that because I click on the date, July 12th, 2016. It's a lovely Tuesday here just south of Nashville. My name is Andy Traub, and this is a free coaching session for you who are live. I'm going to help you. And if you're not live, then hopefully I can help you, or these folks can help you in some way by answering one of your questions. So I love Evernote. It's my tool of choice. It's not the only tool you can use to stay organized with your digital world. But all of you are here probably because you have some question about Evernote. And so let me just describe Evernote real quick. Again, there's nothing to buy on this. I don't work for Evernote. I actually just applied yesterday to be a official or Evernote certified coach or something like that. But that'll take a few months for me to even be able to do that. So nothing to buy here today. I just want to help. So let me start with this, which is Evernote is a tool that it comes empty. And that's the problem with it. Like, no one buys a chainsaw and they're like, what do I do with this thing? Like, you cut stuff with a chainsaw, right? No one buys a spoon and says, how's this thing work? Like, you dip it. You don't stab things with a spoon. But with Evernote, people get it and people go, oh, it's the greatest tool ever and I can't live without it. And it's empty, right? It's like, it's what do you do with it? What do you put in it? And we're going to talk about that today. Specifically, what do you put in your Evernote and how can I help you get more organized in using it? So let's start with this podcast outline of how I use and how I organize my podcast. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through that. And then I want you to fire away with any questions you have for yourself. So let me go to a screen share real quick. And I'm going to share my other desktop here. And then if you can see, I can see your video, but it's real small. If you give me a thumbs up, can you see my screen? Everybody give me a thumbs up. Okay, you can see my Evernote. Okay, wonderful. Lots of thumbs. Okay, great. So there are really 4 areas you can customize in your Evernote. And yours might look a little different if you're on a PC. But the top is, this is the toolbar area up here. Here's the shortcuts area on the left side. Here's a list of your notes. And then here's the actual note. Okay? So you can get a few different views of this. Like, you could shut down the sidebar here by doing that. You could also have this list look different right here. You can make it go, hey, I want snippets of each one. So I want to see if there's an image in those. Or I could put it on the top instead of the side. So my big list is up here, right? You can see this is just different ways to organize your view. The one I prefer is this one right here, the side list view. And there's some different ways you can do that. So for right now, this is going to be our view. And if yours has a weird color behind it, just know that this is translucent, and it's basically just showing what's behind your screen. One day I opened my Evernote and I said, why does it look so different? And I realized it's because it's translucent. It's just going to show the image behind. So hopefully you can see that. So we're going to talk about how I use this for a podcast workflow. And for those of you who don't know, I have a podcast called Take Permission Podcast. You can't buy that. It's free. You can find that at takepermission.com. And I have certain workflow for that. And I want to show you an example of how I'm using it. So this is a template. So I have tagged this template, right? So all my Evernote usage really revolves around tags. I don't use more than one notebook. I use a bunch of different tags. But I want to make sure that I've got all my templates, and I also know, hey, I don't want to mess with this. So I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go over here to my next podcast episode, which is called The Deception of Evergreen Webinars. I'm going to paste it in there. I just did a copy and paste, and then I added a horizontal line. Now, I did a horizontal line with a shortcut from my keyboard, but there's also a button right up here. You can add that horizontal line. You can see right there. But I know all the keyboard shortcuts, and that's how I kind of navigate around there. So these are just individual check boxes, right? So right now, the only thing I've done is I have the episode written and the episode outlined. Everything else I need to do here. And one of the things I like to do is, so I need to make an episode square image at some point. I put a link in here to Canva because that's my tool of choice. So if I click on that, then it will open up Chrome, my browser of choice. Pull that over here. You guys should be able to see Chrome. And then I can kind of bounce in and out of that tool. So as much as you can, make those steps small and quick and easy. Let me show you how to make that link real quick because there's a keyboard shortcut for it. So if I just type in canva.com, I don't get anything. But if I highlight it, right, and then I hit Command K, probably Control K on a PC, It's going to say, hey, what web address do you want this? And just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to put in my takepermission.com. And then I've got a link right there, right? So I just made some text a link. Now, the reason you might want to do that is if you've got a really long link and it's ugly, you might want to maybe share a note with someone. Again, you can just highlight it and then add a link there. Now, to do that in the menu bar, you'd have to highlight, and then you have to go to, I think, Format, Link, Edit, Remove, or Insert would be another option. It's just kind of a pain. So use those shortcuts. So to get rid of a link, it's Shift-Command-K. I'm going to do that, Shift-Command-K. Whoops, that's another shortcut to my calendar. So I'm just going to hit this, and then delete it, and then hit. I might have to do it another way. I have some competing keyboard shortcuts right there, but that's how you can do that. So when I go to make these different things, like this is my when I make a PDF giveaway for my podcast episodes, I use a tool called beacon.by. It's a paid service. I don't have a link for it, but just beacon.by. And I'll log in real quick and show you. It's a way, especially if you use WordPress, for you to make really quick ebooks. And you can make ebooks here. And I'll show you this real quick. And it's a really quick way to make PDF ebooks with some really consistent, nice, clean formatting. And so what I would do after I make this ebook is I would actually save that same ebook in my Evernote file. I would save the actual PDF. So here's the PDF right here. There's all the pages to the PDF. You can see here, right? So after I generate the PDF, I would actually put that inside my Evernote. But the point is, when you do this checklist, and again, to do this checklist, if you want to just follow my mouse here at the bottom, we're going to start to take questions in about 2 minutes, so be ready. If you go up here to this little box right here, and you hit that, that makes a checkbox. Or you can do Shift-Command-T, and that'll do the same thing to make a task icon right there. Okay. And then the reason it's a template is I want to use it every time I do a podcast. So I just copy and paste it over to a new note for that week's episode. And I give it the episode number. And actually call this TPMN. Whoops. TPMN podcast. I've got another keyboard shortcut. You really want to make sure that you're doing as many consistent naming of your notes as you can. So I'm going to pause there and just say, hey, that's one of the ways I do my workflow. And the last thing I'll say about this is everything that I make for a specific podcast episode, I put in OneNote. So this is one I just started. I just wrote this today. I'm going to do this podcast episode about it, just mostly text. Let me show you one other, and then we'll start taking questions of other podcast episode I've done. So here we go. So this is, let me do 00. I'm going to search for the tag podcast real quick. Let's see here, and I'll sort by date. And let's go here. Actually, I'm going to go over here. I'll go by 006 because that was my last podcast. Give me a second here. Appreciate your patience. Oh, here we go. All right. So this is another episode I did. And as you see, as I scroll down here, here's the PDF. Here's an image. The point is, when you work on a project, you can put so many different kinds of, here's a link to a lead box. Here's some HTML code. These are all different things you can put inside of a single Evernote note. And remember, Evernote is just like your brain, but it never forgets. That's how I like to describe Evernote. Okay, so that's my example. I want to spend the rest of the time talking about you and how you could use Evernote. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to look in the chat area. And I want you to, as best as you can, be selfish for a moment. Type in a specific question to your workflow, to what you do, whether you're a creative writer, whether you run a business, whether you stay at home with kids, what your blogger, your podcaster, you are obsessed with Pokemon Go and you want tips. I don't know, whatever your thing is. By the way, I went to Chick-fil-A today and I saw some people walk around doing Pokemon Go. It's kind of funny because they were holding up the line. It was great. So if you would, type in the chat area a question that's specific to you. And again, be selfish. Like, ask a really specific question to your situation, and then I'll dive into that. All right, so I'm gonna take a drink of water. If you could type that in, and then we'll dig into some of your questions, and we'll do back to screen sharing, and I might have you unmute and ask you some questions that way as well. So that would be great. All right, you have to type in a question. I can't answer it. There we go. Catherine, wonderful. Just keep typing in there. I'm going to go with Catherine first. Catherine says, I'm a writer and have hundreds of pieces of paper that need to be organized for different topics and books. How can I do that effectively, including sharing between the topics? Phenomenal question, and Evernote will help you tremendously. So first, key part of her question, I think this relates to a lot of you listening. Catherine just said, I have hundreds of pieces of paper. So what do you do with all that paper, right? Evernote is a digital program. What do you do with your paper? Well, this feature is available in all forms of Evernote, all versions, because there's 3 different versions now: free, basic, and premium, I think is the middle one. But when it comes to your paper, you have to understand that Evernote has OCR, and that's not a disease. And maybe it is a disease, but not in this case. It's optical character recognition. So what that simply means is that I can write a word on here. Okay. All right, I'm going to write a word on here. Ready? Word. All right. And I could take a picture of this, and then I would type in the word word in Evernote, which I'll do that right now as we're chatting. And through optical character recognition, Evernote will find the word word on this piece of paper in a picture, and it will make it searchable. And the reason this is powerful is it doesn't do it with just really obvious things like this. It does it with full pages of text, PDFs, everything that you might want to do. So I'm simply going to open up my camera here. See, I'm opening up my camera in my Evernote. I'm going to hover over this piece of paper. It's going to automatically size up and edit the corners. It's going to take a picture. You can see at the bottom right-hand corner now, it's taking a picture of the document, the Word document. It's ironic, the Word document. And then I'm just going to save it Word. All right. So I have saved that into my Evernote. And then in about 15 seconds, it'll be over in my Evernote notes as I sync again, because it's syncing from my phone to the web. It'll show up there. And it allows me to now type in the word. Here it is right here. I'll share my screen. And this is for anyone, whether you love to take physical notes, as you should, because it's the best way to remember things, is to write things down versus type them. So give me a thumbs up again if you can see my Evernote. Everybody see my Evernote? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for participating. And this is my Evernote note here. Still pulling up. Syncing up here. Again, that was almost instantaneous. I'm not sure how large the image is, and I'm using a lot of bandwidth, so that might be the reason for. And my kids are downstairs watching Netflix. That probably isn't helping. Here we go. So it just took that Post-it note, and there's the Post-it note. Okay. So what we're going to do here is see if this works or not. I don't know if I've done it this fast before. If I type the word word, okay, it's going to do this. All these notes over here changed. All right. So somewhere in Take Permission Podcast, the word word is used. So you can see it right there, the wording. So it just searched all of my notes like that for a specific word, the word being word, including my handwriting, which is not wonderful. But understand this, Catherine, when you want to go and find all of your physical writing, or you've got pages of you've actually handwritten things, barring, your handwriting being completely atrocious, you would be able to search via any word all of your writing. Now, the next step in that process is organizing it. And the way you would organize it is to add tags. And so, Catherine, can you type in the chat real quick and what do you mean by script, Catherine? And feel free to unmute if you'd like. I'm I don't know. I don't remember by script or hand. I guess you would say cursive, maybe. I don't know that it can read cursive. I don't know. One thing to consider, though, is that you could simply write a word where you could look at that text once you have entered it, and you could add a specific tag. So let's just say, we'll make it real simple. And well, I don't want to demean your writing. So give me a couple topics, Catherine, that you write about. I don't want to use a silly example. Give me just a couple topic examples. And again, think about this for yourself that you're listening, and things you write about in your physical notes. Okay, all right. So all right, Catherine's going to write. Let's talk about. You're going to talk about God and justice. Okay, and you're going to talk about God, justice, and tradition. Those are three words that keep coming up. Okay, and so you can go in and just scan all of your writing, and then you could look at it, or you could actually take the piece of paper and write. I wouldn't write in cursive. I would I would do print the word that or the tag that you want to be included, or you can just scan them all. And again, it's very, very, very fast to do that. And the actual app I would encourage you to use, you can use the Evernote app. It has another app called Scannable, and it literally will do this. You could have something like this, or pretend like this is a book. Well, let me grab a book real quick. All right, this is a book. You can hold up the Scannable app to a book, or even pretend like this is a stack of papers. Go like this, it'll take a picture. Go like this, it'll take a picture. It just keeps automatically taking pictures of all of your text. So what I would do is I would actually have someone either flip the piece of paper for you or put it on a tripod. But I will have my son, right? This is not child labor, illegal or anything like that. I will have my son, I will mount my phone on a tripod over a book. So my son is looking over a book with my phone like this, and I'll have him open up pages to the book for the app to take pictures of. And the app just keeps taking pictures. So you just have to keep flipping pages. Now, I'm not doing that to the whole book. I have him go through, and I pay him. Thank you. He's 8. So it's like $1. He's really cheap. And I will go say, hey, Samuel, any of the pages that have a highlight on them, Dad wants a picture of. So how do you get those physical highlights over into your Evernote? It's you take pictures of it, and then you can go search for any word inside of that page. And then it'll also take, if you do handwriting inside of your note, side of the page, it will make that searchable as well. Okay. So Catherine, for you, I would just take pictures of all of your text using the Scannable app or the Evernote app. The Scannable app, I think, would be faster. And I would add specific tags, and then you can search those tags. So let's just say you've got 100 pieces of paper, and 25 of them have something to do with business, 25 of them have something to do with business and justice, and then 25 of them have to do with God and justice. Because you've tagged those correctly, you could search and say, all right, how many of my notes that I just entered have justice? Oh, 50 of them. Okay, but how many of them have business and justice? Oh, just 25. So you can start to use those tags to narrow your searches. And again, don't think about Catherine right now. Let Catherine think about Catherine. Think about yourself. How could you use tags to identify all those little notebooks you have that you go, I've taken notes for years and I don't do anything with it? How can you go from the next meeting you have or the next idea you have in a coffee shop and come home and put it in Evernote? I still love to write. I mean, it's scientifically proven you will remember more when you physically write something. But I would say this, that you really, really should take what is physically written and put it inside your Evernote. It's really, 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 really important. Okay. And Katrina said that it can read cursive, so that's wonderful. Wonderful. And so the app is Evernote itself, the app, and there's also the Scannable app. And so if you go to, let me do this real quick. Let me share my screen. We'll go to another question. Desktop 2, share screen. So this app, the Scannable app, just scans things. So this is evernote.com/product/scannable. I'll put that in the chat in a moment. But this is going to show you how to, and here's the other thing, if it has a business card, it'll automatically say, hey, this is a business card, and then it will or it'll add that person to your address book, and then you can share your information with them. And also has an app that built for their scanner, which is $500, which is why I don't have one. But that's and actually, I think it's a iOS only right now app. I think the Evernote app for Android is very fast and effective. So, but that's the scannable app. If you're an iOS user, I use Android for my phone. But let me just put that in the chat here. And there you go. There's that link to that for the chat. All right. And that's the scannable app, free. It's a great way to get items into it. Your Evernote, but I don't use it because I'm Android. I'm very happy with the Evernote app for Android. So that's how to get the handwritten, or really anything. I mean, remember this: you see a sign by the side of the road, boom, take a picture of it. Right? You see a you take physical notes after a meeting, take a quick picture of it. And I'm talking like it can take it can take a picture every 3 seconds. It's like boom, boom, boom. I mean, you can get through a lot. My problem is I don't turn the pages fast enough. That's my only problem. So it's a really, really great app for that. And that's a scannable app for iOS. Or again, the built-in app for Evernote. You just turn on camera. It's going to have 2 functions. Okay, hear me when I say this. When you open up the camera app, it's going to have 2 functions. One is the automatic. And when you do the automatic, it's going to size up and try to crop it automatically. It's going to try to determine what it is and then, kind of crop it out accordingly. Or you can have it just go, hey, I'm going to tell you what it is. And so I think the default is pretty good, where it'll get rid of other lines, it'll get rid of other pictures, it'll cut out the corners for you. But in that scannable app, you can actually go in and adjust the corners if it gets it wrong, which is pretty neat. So the scannable app is very, 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 very sweet app. All right. I will need some more questions. I'm going to go back to a couple more, but keep asking some questions. Catherine, I hope that was helpful. If it wasn't helpful enough, please type in what else you need help with, and I'll address your question more. But let me say one more thing, Catherine. You need to figure out how you want to organize your writing, what topics you want to have included with your writing. Maybe it's 15 or 20 different words or labels, and then you need to tag those. Don't put them in separate notebooks. You need to tag those as you enter in the content. And again, you're going to have more than one tag for each piece of writing because it might relate to more than one thing, right? But you want to add tags for those pieces of writing, okay? All right, so Teresa, I want to start blogging. Great, start blogging. How to organize content flow, maybe like an editorial calendar. Yes, editorial calendar is great. A lot of, if you're going to use a WordPress blog, you can get a plugin that has that. You can use good old-fashioned big old calendar like that one. Doesn't really matter. But what I would say is you should have an organized workflow like I did with my podcast, like I showed earlier. And it says something like article headline, SEO, keywords, image, subtitles. Do you have an opt-in? Did you include a link to your email opt-in? Does it have an outline? Did you follow this certain, whether it's Don Miller's storyline process, or story brand process, or, do you have a template for your writing? You always want to have a story in every one of your posts. Those are things that you can just add a to-do list, a checklist, a template, and you go, okay, I'm not going to necessarily do all these things every time, but I'm going to do a lot of them every time. So you should have a podcast template, and it's just a big checklist. Not a podcast. I'm sorry. You need to have a blog checklist. And let me just show you my podcast one. And it grows. Like every week I do this. This is episode 7, as you can see here. But right now, like today, I wrote episode written. Now I added that to my outline, to my template. I didn't have that in my template. Like, oh yeah, I should write it out, because sometimes I don't write them out. So these are the only 2 things I've done for this week's podcast, right? But what you would have is you would just have all these different checks to include, these little boxes. And again, to do that, you're just going to go up here to this little box right here and do that. And you're going to say item 1, hit enter, item 2, enter. And then every week you're just going to go down the row. And then you're going to have a template, right? So I have this podcast template right here. and you're never going to actually edit this one. You're just going to copy and paste it every week or every post that you do. So I hope that's helpful. I think you should have a template, call it template in the title, put template tag on it, and that way you'll always be able to find it. I might drop it over here, right here. This is the shortcuts area. The way you do that is you click right here, drag it over there, and it becomes a shortcut. Now, why are shortcuts great? Because, you know, I have thousands of notes. I have 4,628 notes. So I'm not going to find them. I have to create some shortcuts. Okay. And so for those who don't know, real quick, these shortcuts, you can hit Command up to 9 to get to these first 9 shortcuts. So if I want to go to the podcast template shortcut, I dragged it, moved it over to the left here. I would also hit Command 7. So let's just go over here. I'm going to hit Command 7, and boom, I jumped to it. So I'm going to go to the receipts tag right here. Actually, it's in a notebook called receipts. I would hit Command 6. Blog post, that's a different one, Command 5. So that's just another way to jump to those. And if I reordered podcast template and I moved it up one, it becomes Command 6, right? That's just another way to navigate around that. All right? Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. If you have any other questions about that, Teresa, please let me know. And just start blogging, Teresa. That's my advice. Start blogging. You'll get better. I need to get better at a lot of things, so I need to do them more. Danny says, Danny, like the Ohio State University, Danny says, Andy, do you know if there's a way for all parties to add tags to a shared notebook? You know, that's a great question. What Danny's talking about is you can share a notebook with someone, and there are limitations when you share a notebook with another Evernote user about who can add tags. And it's really frustrating because essentially the person who started the notebook usually is the only one who can add the tag. And that just becomes a problem. And so I don't really know how to get around that. If you have a business, Evernote, this is something I'm probably learning my Evernote certification because it's really in the weeds, right? It's a really detailed question, a valid question, a good question. But I'm not sure right now how to do that, other than maybe if you have a business account, you might be able to give different administrative options to other people. But that's a sentence that ends with a question mark, not a period. So I'm not quite sure to help you there. But it's a great question, and they should certainly be able to do that, to be able to add tags. That's a good feature. Catherine, let's see here. Daniel didn't know about Evernote Scannable. Now you do. By the way, it's scannable with 2 N's. Let's see here. Catherine, I think I can organize it now. Thanks. Sweet. Let's see. Daniel says, do you say digital receipts to Evernote that are sent to your email? Yes. So I trust and love all of you, even though you're strangers, but I can't show you this completely because if you have an Evernote account, all right, and if you have an Evernote account, just type in yes, okay, or you know, don't do thumbs up, but type in if you have an Evernote account. If you have an Evernote account, then you have the functionality. I believe this is a basic, and now I think it's a paid feature now. They kind of took it away from the free version. But you have an Evernote email address, and this is where I say I love you all, but I can't show you this. I have one email address, and you have one email address that if you send anything to that email address, it will go into your Evernote. And the reason I can't share with people is then, like I had a guy call me, this is side, I had a guy call me once, and I was like, hello. He's like, hey, this is so-and-so, and I apologize, but I got your phone number from YouTube. And I was like, it's my personal cell phone. I was like, excuse me? How did you do that? He goes, well, I was watching one of your tutorial videos, and you went through something, and it showed your cell phone number. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went and deleted that video. But I was like, hey, way to go. You're really smart because no one else has ever found that. But the point being, with that email address, you can take, and just think about this. Think for you today. Be selfish. Is there an email you're like, all right, great, but I want to have some place to put it other than my email? Even if you're a Gmail user like I am, I want to have a safe place to put it, a receipt, a document, a word of affirmation. Any emails I get that have affirmations in them, that's like my love language. I always forward that to my Evernote. But you can hit forward, and then it'll give you a specific email address that's specific to your Evernote account, and you can forward it. Well, if you have a PDF attached, it'll add that to Evernote. that PDF then becomes searchable. If you have an image, if you have an audio file, if you have a Word document, anything that's in that email, you can then forward into your Evernote account just via email. So you don't have to like copy and paste it. It's really, really powerful. And so I'm not going to open my email address because my email box, I want to kind of keep that private. But if you have an Evernote account, you can forward things into your Evernote via that email address. And you would just find that in your account information. So I'm not going to go into mine. So I'm not sharing my screen right now, so I can do this. I believe it's Evernote and then account info is where you would go. But it's going to have, and if that email address is ever compromised, mine's like andytraub or .396D4 or whatever at evernote.com or something. But that's ever compromised, because it could be, you can switch it and you can make a new one. And again, it's compromised. If that ever gets out, anybody could just start sending stuff in your email, in your Evernote account, which would not be good. You want to control. But then again, think about this. If you have an assistant, if you have a secretary, if you have someone that works with you, for you, you could have them use that address to send things into your Evernote, right? Like they could forward emails and put them into your Evernote for you and tag them to do, or whatever it might be, or tag them the name of a customer, or tag them a project. And so that email address could be used by anyone. So maybe you do want to share it so that other people can add your other bits of information into your Evernote account, and you can say, yep, it's in your Evernote. And you go, sweet, thank you, versus another email, because I know you don't need another email. Okay. All right, I got to take a drink. So I hope that helps. I don't remember the individual question, but I hope that helps. Oh, digital receipts. So that's how I send digital receipts. And I do that, Daniel. I do take my individual receipts and I forward them to Evernote. Doug, I want to make sure I'm understanding this. We will be attending a conference soon with several speakers and several workshops. Would I tag the entries with conference name, speaker name, topic, all of the above? So I'm going to, let's say we're going to a conference, Doug, me and you. We're going to World Domination. We're going to like a business. We're going to social media marketing world, okay? They're going to be talking about Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and there's going to be different speakers. What I would do is I would tag every single note, the name of that conference, and that with a short term like Social Media Marketing World 2016 would be SMMW 16. I would make that a tag. So, anything that has to do with that podcast or that event is going to be tagged that. Then you could have session or breakout or speaker or whatever it might be. Okay. There could be another tag for that. But I only do tags if I think I'm going to have, 5 or 6 or more notes that relate to that tag. So I wouldn't make a tag for, like if I'm speaking at Social Media Marketing World, then you wouldn't have a tag for me. Like you might put me in the title or put me in the text of your note, but you really only want to have a tag because, hey, I'm going to have a lot of other things that I want to tag this. That being said, you can have like 10,000 tags, literally. Like that's like the limit. It might be more than that. So when in doubt, make a tag. Okay. So, but yeah, here's my other encouragement, Doug, and I love this question, is that use Evernote in a way that works for you. Okay? Don't try to reprogram the way God makes your brain work and go, I just have to be this person that puts things in 15-minute segments and tells you what day. Some people are like that. I fundamentally disagree with teaching people, here's exactly how to use Evernote. I teach principles and then I say, go get them. Because I can't think like most other people think. I've got my own. But Evernote is like your brain, but it's smarter. It never forgets. But you don't have to remember everything. You just have to remember one word. Like if you saw me at an event and you go, Social Media Marketing World, you talked about Snapchat. And you could go over here on your phone and go Social Media Marketing World, Snapchat. His name is Andy. Okay, great. Or his name is Andy. What did he talk about? And you could type in, okay, I want to look in tag and Andy. Oh, he talked about Snapchat. Again, we all remember little pieces, right? So you put all those pieces in, and when you go back in, you might only pull one. But when you pull that one piece, because that's the way your brain works, you might go, oh, what is his name? Starts with a D. Talked about Snapchat, whatever it might be. Then you just have to pluck out that one little string and it'll bring the whole piece of information with you. But just remember, Evernote works for you, right? So build it in a way that works for you. Hopefully that's helpful. How to create shortcuts. You simply drag them from the list area and move them over into the shortcuts bar. I don't know if there's a limit on the shortcuts. I have 20 or so, but at some point when you get over 20 shortcuts, they're not really shortcuts anymore. But you can move any tag, notebook, individual note, and also you can save searches. You can look for, search for a specific word and save that search and put it in your shortcuts. So very, very powerful. And again, assume this, if you keep adding things, let's say you tagged a note, social media marketing world 16, or tagged it Andy Traub, that's still what I'm saying. Tag a note Andy Traub. If you add 10 more notes to that, the next time you click on that shortcut, it'll show all those other notes. They're going to be, it's all updating automatically. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going through these questions. Hopefully this is helpful. If it's not, you would have left because you don't have to stay. Let's see here. Nice tip. Great. Thank you. Thanks. You're welcome. Getting ready to put together an online course for my students. I bet you are. You're awesome. How can I use Evernote to organize content for an online course? I got you. All right, here we go. Because I'm doing this right now. Let's see here. Let me go here. See which one I want to look at here. I'm going to do a screen share in a second here. So what I'm doing right now, I'm thinking in my head, what word do I want to look for to go pull up that note? And let's see, I know I used a note. I know I used a, I know I used a shortcut. I was product launch. So I'm going to type in the word launch. And now I'm going to, over here. Okay, product launch. All right, so this gets pretty fun pretty quick. And boy, that's, okay. All right. All right, so let me go over here. I'm going to share my screen. So the question is, how can you organize an online course in Evernote? I'm going to show you right now. Okay, and again, if you're not doing an online course, whatever it might be, it could be a home purchase, it could be a guide that you're creating, anything that has multiple pieces of content. This is what you could do. So I search for the word product launch. Okay, up here in the top right, product launch, and I am finding this word launch, product launch, 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 right, and then the word launch right there. Okay, so Master Evernote launch list. So Master Evernote is the program I teach about Evernote. And so here is why these are green is these are other notes inside of Evernote. So this is like the thing, this is the part of Evernote that 99% of Evernote users don't know about, don't use. And in my opinion, other than tagging, it's the most powerful Evernote feature. So his question was, how can I build an online course using Evernote? And what I would say is this, it's not going to hold your video files. I'm going to talk about the limitations and everything else is going to be okay. It's not going to be a place where you store files. I would still use Dropbox for that. But when it comes to outlining things and linking to them, this is what I would do. And the key to this is called note links. And what note links are is they are links to other notes inside of Evernote. And so what this does is it allows you to jump around inside of Evernote between different notes, okay? So we're going to navigate between all these notes using these green links. So what I have here is posts to study. So one I already studied was how Jeff relaunched an old product and made $2.5 million. He didn't keep all that money. It's my friend Jeff Goins. He made a product and he kept relaunching it. And this is a post on Brian Harris's blog, videofruit.com. Both great guys. So I said, hey, I need to study this post. So I put the post in Evernote, right? And here's the post. Here it is, okay? And I put the post in Evernote because I have an Evernote web clipper in my Chrome browser, okay? It's an extension. And so here is the post, and I went and I studied it. okay? I pulled it in, I highlighted things, okay? So I highlighted it, and then I hit this highlight button. So that's what I did. So once I got done studying it, taking highlights, what I did is I copied this note link. And the way you do that, there's two ways. You ready? Right-click, copy note link. Or, this is funny, it's like the longest shortcut ever. It's Control-Option-Command-C. Control-Option-Command-C. That will do the same thing that copy note link will do, but it's a keyboard shortcut. All right, and I'm sure there's one for PC. But what it does is it gives me this little green thing. This is a note link. I'm going to go back to that other one, as you can see up here, and you can see right here, this is the note. So if I wanted to paste that, I'll go down to the bottom here and paste it. I'm going to hit Command V, and it didn't work. Here we go. Oh, because I didn't actually do it. I just talked about it. Go back here. There we go. So what I did is I copied that note link and I pasted it right there. So what I did is I just took another note and I put it inside of this one. And so what you would do is you would take, let's just say you're going to take 10 pieces of content and make individual notes for them. And then you can make all these links and put them into another note, and that way you can navigate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so it links all of them. And let me show you a really fast way to do this. This is super cool. Okay, let's just clear this. Let's just take the last 3 notes that I worked on today. Okay, and I'm going to show you one other way to do this. That was my first note ever. Okay, here we go. So this takes these 3 notes, and all I did is hit Shift down. What I did is it took these 3 notes. Those are my last 3 notes I worked on today. And you see how it makes a little pile of them? Watch this pile right here. Watch. See how it keeps adding notes to it? All right. It's a nice little visual representation. That one goes back and forth. Now, one of the options is to create a table of contents note. If I click on that, it's going to make a note with links to those 5 notes. Watch. All right. A new note called table of contents, and it made a link to all 5 of those notes. Right? Now, here's a trick. If this is your master table of contents, right? That's cool, right? So I can get to those 5. But how do you get back to your master table of contents? Right? How do you go back to the beginning? You make a note link. So I did my little shortcut right there. I have to synchronize real quick. You'd have to have it synchronized. All right, synchronized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, master Evernote launch list, go up here. I'm going to paste that link. So master table of contents. Oh, there it is. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to this Word one. And what I'm doing is I'm just pasting that shortcut. I just deleted my picture. I'm pasting that shortcut to that. And what I'm doing is I'm creating a way to navigate back and forth in between these notes. Okay? Using these note links. Now, where is this familiar? This should be triggering in your brain. Oh yeah, that's what I do with a traditional file structure. That's how I go back and forth between files in my computer. The problem with Evernote is that you have to create those links in between notes. Otherwise, all your notes are on the same level. And it can be very, very confusing to navigate between all those notes. I'm going to delete this note. That's like super high level Evernoting right there. Like, again, like 98% of Evernote users don't know how to do that. And again, I don't want you to be overwhelmed with it. I just want you to consider how you might use that. Okay, how you might structure your online course using Evernote, because I think it's a perfect place for it. Now, you might end up using Google Docs. You might end up using, Dropbox, to actually organize your files and things like that. But when it comes to an outline and pulling data or articles, I think it's a phenomenal way to do it. All right, I have to go faster because I don't want to take too much time. For an email, great. Can't you do a lot of the same things you're doing in Google Apps for work? Yes, you can do a lot of those things. What I would say is that when it comes to the amount of space you have on your screen in one place, I still think Evernote is a great, great place to put text, images, audio files, PDFs, and then make all those things searchable in a really tight package. Google Drive and Dropbox both share some of those similarities. But I think that for most people, if you have, I think it's more likely that we have a lot of small snippets of ideas and text than we do full-on files. So yes, when it comes to organizing files and collaboration, Google Drive is probably a better option, Dropbox. But I think most of us think in these small snippets, and that's why I like Evernote, because it's like my brain, where it's got lots of little things in little different areas, but it's literally all in one program, which is why I have 4,600 notes. And that's one of the problems with Evernote, is I think really to get the most out of Evernote, you got to use it a lot. And so part of the sales pitch is, hey, you don't like it, you don't understand it, use it more. Okay, thanks. Right, that's helpful. But yes, you can do some of those things. Let's see, Jesse, I've been using Microsoft OneNote primarily for work-related notes for quite some time. How does OneNote notebook sections, pages format translate into Evernote if I were to import my OneNotes into Evernote? I don't know that there's an import tool for that. I know there's an import note tool from Evernote to OneNote, but OneNote to me has more functionality. It has more options, more freedom, if you will. But when I've been in there, I'm overwhelmed by all the different kinds of tools and layers, and it sort of like goes into infinity. Like there's no like page, like you can just keep going. And some people love that. I didn't really like the design. I think OneNote's improved tremendously, but I don't have a lot of experience with OneNote because I have to stay focused and use one tool. But you might just look around if there is an importer, someone maybe has created an importer to move from OneNote to Evernote. But I think it's harder to move from OneNote to Evernote because you're losing functionality. It's easier to go from Evernote to OneNote because that's like saying, hey, I'm going to go from this more simple system to a more complex system. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, or maybe I'm dodging it. Let's see. Note links is one of the best Evernote tips I've learned from you. Very powerful. Thanks, Daniel. One of the things that I want you to be aware of when you start using tags is you still need to organize your tags. You still need to stay organized, and you certainly can use notebooks. Like if you have a specific project with one customer, it's really big, put it in a notebook. Like I'm not anti-notebook to the nth degree. Sometimes you should use notebooks, but for the way I use it, I usually just generally use tags. So Katrina says, I like how you showed how you can add tag names and notebook names and subject lines of emails. Did I show that today? No. So when you forward an email, I'll use the pound. That's what the kids call hashtag. The pound symbol, if you put the pound symbol, and this is when you're sending an email to your Evernote, if in the subject line, there's three things you can do. Number one, the subject line of an email that you forward into Evernote, the first set of words with no @ symbol or pound symbol is going to be the title of your note. Okay. If you do the @ symbol and then a word, that will be what notebook it goes into. And then the pound symbol and a word will be any tags. So if I was to take all my receipts and put them in the receipts notebook and tag it eating out and take permission, whatever, something, then I would forward that receipt into my Evernote. I would use the @ symbol, receipts as my notebook, and then the hashtag or pound, pizza, whatever it might be. But you can include the @ symbol and a word to direct any note from your email into a specific notebook, or use the pound or hashtag symbol and a word to add a tag. So when it shows up in Evernote, it'll already be put in the right notebook and it'll already be tagged. Very cool feature. Jesse says, okay, that helps. I do get overwhelmed with OneNote, which is why I'm considering switching to Evernote. I'll look around for import options. Great. Any other questions, just shoot me an email to andy@takepermission.com, Jesse, or come on Friday. Catherine, I'd like to move we'll finish up here in a minute, folks. I'd like to move my Evernote program to my new computer, but I'm afraid I'll mess it up. It's an older version. Any advice? I'm not exactly sure of your concern because your Evernote notes should not change at all. If you're moving from an older version of Evernote, the contents inside your notes, because they're constantly being synced to the web, they're not going to change. So no matter what version, it's like saying this. If I use Microsoft Office 10, I don't know if there is one because I don't use Microsoft Office, but if I use Microsoft Office 10, right, and I had Microsoft Office and all my stuff was made in like Microsoft Office 2, when I move those text notes and I open up a Microsoft Office, they should still open, right? And that's the same thing with Evernote. Now, Office is a bad example because they changed their file from doc to docx, but generally, your content should be the same. It's a great question, though, Catherine, because of this. If you're using the free version, you're only allowed to use the free Evernote version on 2 devices. So if you're paid, you can use it for unlimited. But if you're using the free version, you're only allowed to have access to it on 2 devices. The way you get around that is you use the web version. You can go to evernote.com and sign in via the web there and then look at your notes that way. So, Catherine, I'd like to move my Evernote program to my new computer. You would download Evernote, log in, hit sync, and it's going to pull in all your notes that are in your other Evernote. And they're not in your other Evernote. They're synced to the Evernote cloud. So you should be okay. But you really can't mess it up because it's syncing in the background. Okay? It's always going off in the background. It's just going to fill up, right? You're going to hit sync and it's going to start to import all of your notes. To me, it's like moving houses, right? Except you've got all the stuff in separate houses and it's always syncing all the time. So, hey, I've taken an hour of your day. I appreciate it. So, Catherine, real quick to clarify, you said I don't always sync. Sync. I don't know why you wouldn't sync. Like, sync is good. Sync is like backing up your computer, your idea. So sync your stuff and then go update it on the other computer. Don't be afraid. Sync is your friend. SYNC. I don't know about your SINK. I like my sync. So thank you all for your time. Again, my name's Andy Trop. You can find me at takepermission.com. I'll have a replay of this posted there. And if you're ever interested in more about Master Evernote, I'll email you in the future. But this was a no pitch hour, so no pitch.